Good afternoon, everyone. Court is in session. All right, so let's dispense with the preliminaries and get right down to the nitty-gritty. What I'm going to rant about today is taxes. Everyone, pretty much, nearly everyone, can relate to that one way or another. If you have a utility, that you pay for, if you purchase something at the store, and certainly if you have a job and you work, you pay income taxes and you likely have to file a return at the end of the year. So tomorrow is tax day, and yes, I am one of the procrastinators. It hasn't always been that way. Trying to think back to the first returns I ever filed. I've been working since I am 15 years old. I won't say when that was. I was going to say the year, but I'd rather not get into that. But anyway, and I think I used to, when I got started, I think I used to fill out paper returns, just handwrite on them. And I might have used an accountant a few years, and then I decided, I can do this myself, save myself some dough, and I used to fill out the 1040-EZ form, the IRS tax form, and as I grew up and acquired what little wealth I have, things started to change. I started going to school and I was eligible for certain credits, and I started buying properties, and then later I would start renting the properties and having rental income to claim. So circumstances change for wage earners, that's their only source of income. The 1040-EZ form is very easy to fill out. I eventually started doing it online. I don't know when. I've always used a tax service called TaxAct, and it is free to use to generate your tax document and to actually submit it electronically. But there's been some changes there, and I don't know if it's been because of changes in my circumstances or TaxAct has become a little money hungry. I think you can still file an electronic return through TaxAct for free, but my circumstances are different now. And I remember one year, one thing I don't like about the site is that it's not really clear that you're paying until the very bitter end when you go to submit your tax return. And I remember one year I wanted to try itemizing rather than taking a standard deduction, which used to range between $6,000 and $7,000. And what the standard deduction does is it reduces your income. So let's say that the standard deduction is $5,000 and you make $35,000 a year. Okay, right away the standard deduction reduces your income from $35,000 to $30,000, so that you're then taxed based on the $30,000 instead of $35,000. So if you're in a 10% tax bracket, $35,000, your tax liability for the year will be $3,500, right? But if you reduce it from $35,000 to $30,000, well, then your tax liability is only $3,000. So that's how that deduction works. But we have the option of itemizing rather than taking a standard deduction. You can't do both. You can't say, okay, I want all deductions, meaning medical expenses, that sort of thing. So if you had a hospitalization and it cost you like $4,000. And your standard deduction is $5,000, you can't add 5 and 4 to have $9,000 and try to reduce your $35,000 income by $9,000 to $26,000. It doesn't work that way. You have to either choose one or the other. And but I wanted to itemize because I wanted to see if maybe I had more than the standard deduction in deductions. But I never did. You know, I would add up all my medical expenses. I would try to come up with whatever I could find that was deductible, and instead of having the $5,000 standard deduction, I had like $4,000 or $3,000 in itemized deductions. So you know, that year or those years that I tried to do that, I was better off taking the standard deduction. So after going through all that research, I had to revert back to a standard deduction. Well, Tax Act for some reason changed, and it wasn't allowing me to revert back, and it was still applying a fee that was applicable to people that would itemize, because when you itemize, then you're no longer using the Form 1040 Easy form, you're using like a 1040 or a 1040A. And so I got upset about that, and I told them, hey, I'm not itemizing anymore, and they went ahead and they just gave me a credit. Last year, it said something like, and you got to read the language on these websites and in advertising, because it's very tricky. And I missed it, and then I realized it at the end. The website said something like, start your return for free. Okay, the operative word there is start. You can start it, but you can't finish and submit it for free. You're going to pay a fee at the end, but for now you can go ahead and put in all the information, but it's totally useless if you can't at the end then submit it. Well, this is what happened to me last year. I was really upset, so I just took a screen capture of the screen after it at least was showing me the return. It wasn't allowing me to print it or anything. I had to take like a screen image of it and then save it and turn it into a PDF and try to submit it that way. And then I had problems because certain forms weren't, certain schedules or whatever weren't attached. It's a nightmare. Won't go into it any further, any more. I'm not going to go into it beyond that. But you know, this year, I mean, I'm one of those procrastinators, you know, and it always was that way. I remember when I used to mail in returns, I remember getting in line at the post office. You know, there's like cars on the street waiting to make a right turn into the main post office down in South Florida, in Fort Lauderdale, Broward County, where the Oakland Park Boulevard main post office was. There'd be like a line of cars, and I'd be like sitting there behind them waiting to get in, circle around to drop into the mail slot. You know, because they have the little mailboxes that have the elongated mail slot. You don't have to get out of your car. And I was in that line waiting to drop off my mail. So every year it's always been in the last minute. And then over the last few years, I've not even bothered filing on time, and I don't think it's ever been a problem. You know, I've filed like in June, July, in the fall, and it never really, I don't think, was ever a problem, because I was always owed money. But ever since the ACA, the Affordable Care Act, ever since Obamacare, I have been owing money. And I think even before that, it was getting hard to get returns, just based on the fact that I had rental income that I was adding on to my wages, and I was able to reduce the rental income by my expenses associated with renting. But it got bad after the ACA. It got really bad because, you know, in the very beginning of the ACA, which was the very beginning of President Obama's tenure as president, a lot of us were unemployed. And I was one of them. And I qualified for subsidies, which is called like tax credits or tax something. And I was eligible for those, and my income was so low, there was even cost-sharing payments, which reduced my co-pays because I was under a certain income. And then in 2018, I had already returned to work. In 2017, was still working into 2018, but I had liked my plan that I had been on because I had the cost sharing. You know, my co-pays were like $5, and so wanted to stay on that plan because I was like, I could lose my job. I've had a spotty job history anyway. So I wanted to stay on the plan. So in the fall of 2017, when it was open enrollment at work, I elected not to select a plan for the 28 year. So when 2018 rolled around, I decided that I was going to report my projected income for the year, assuming I was going to work for the entire year, and I was working at the time that I was reapplying for the 2018 health insurance year. So I reported what my income was going to be on healthcare.gov, and they gave me a premium tax credit, but it wasn't as much as it had been in the past based on my projected income. So I had to pay a lot more out of pocket. And I wasn't eligible for the cost sharing anymore, which was going to help with like deductibles and co-pays and all that. So all my co-pays were going to be like $60, $100. It was outrageous. It was not affordable. And then I was kind of stuck because I had missed open enrollment. So I had to stay on it until the next open enrollment, which was going to be again in October of 2018. So I didn't have, all I had was the ACA from January through September of last year. And now that I've completed my taxes, things are worse now. Congress, the president, whatever, has done away with the penalty, and effective this year. So next year, those of us who have not had insurance are not going to pay a penalty. But this year and years past, there's been a penalty, about $750 is a penalty. And now I'm thinking I shouldn't have hung on to that ACA plan last year. I should have just went uninsured, because without the cost sharing payments, it was unaffordable. The deductible was like $6,000, $7,000. I wasn't going to spend that, and I needed a lot of care at the beginning of the year. And I remember recording a video telling you how I had injured my left shoulder inexplicably. I don't know how, but I did. And the insurance, I had it, but it wasn't going to help me. It was too expensive to use. So I got over that issue, and I just didn't use insurance for the rest of the year, and I waited until October and then switched, and now I'm on a group plan through work. So when I went to file the taxes yesterday, I thought, well, now that I've reported my income for the year, and smaller premium tax credits have been paid to my insurer, and I have paid more, I am not going to have to repay anything. Wrong-o. Boy, did I ever have to pay. Not only did I have to pay all of it back, that I was not, the repayment was not subjected to the limit that I just told you about, the limit of $750, which I think is like a penalty. Now I have to pay all of it back, and thank God I only paid like for 9 months. It would have been worse had I paid the entire year. But I got to pay like $1,500 back. I might as well have not had insurance. So I posted this on Facebook yesterday. So let me share this with you because I was able to collect my thoughts better, and I want to be able to share careful consideration with you. So this is what I said. I want Obamacare gone, and it be a forgotten nightmare for us all. Every year, since its inception, my taxes have been brutal. While I was on an ACA plan, I thought I was getting cheap coverage until the end of the year, and bam, whammo, I had to pay the tax credits back. I think in the very beginning, when many of us were on the unemployment lines, it was okay because we made so little those years that we, or at least I, did not have to pay much, if any of it, back. But once I was making a few bucks, I started getting penalized. But it wasn't like insurance was affordable just because I had some money coming in. So I stuck with the ACA plan. But I wised up, and last year made sure that I accurately reported what my income would be for 2018. Then I had to pay a lot more towards the premium each month, but I still got a tax credit, albeit a reduced one. So I've already told you all this, but indulge me. I think that having made sure my income was correctly reported, I would not feel the pinch I've been feeling the last few years at tax time. Ironically, 2018 has been the worst tax year of all. Not only do I have to still pay back the tax credit, now there's no limit as to how much I can be asked to repay. It used to be about $750. Now I find myself having to pay back over $1,500. And that wasn't even for a full year. It was for 8 months. I should have immediately dropped it and paid the penalty. I would have been better off now. All right, and now this is all that you've already heard. So now this is the only thing that I haven't discussed. It's the bigger picture about all of this. But I went on to say, this government program has been a scam to enrich the insurance companies and a colossal failure for us. As usual, those of us near the middle, meaning the middle class, those of us near the middle are the ones screwed and pushed further down into poverty. Those already in poverty have little, if anything, to lose, and the wealthy have enough money to not be affected. That's how bad government policy works. The rich stay rich, the poor stay poor, and the middle class are driven into poverty. Excuse me. If anyone knows a way out of this mess, let me know. I'm not just bitching. I need to know how to mitigate this tax liability. So I got some reactions, but no advice. But that's how it goes. I really don't think there's a way out. I'm just going to pay it, and that's the end of that. So, looks like it's raining out. April showers, right? So it's got really dark. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. I want to thank you, though, for listening and watching. And how can't you agree with the fact that taxes is brutal, and that the ACA has to go? Hopefully you agree with that. You might not. You might be benefiting from it if you're someone that has absolutely no income and you're happy living that way. I can understand it. You know, I won't argue it's good for some people, but it's hurting those of us that are, self-reliant. And it's making those of us self-reliant have a little bit more difficulty in being self-reliant. And like I said, it's pushing us closer into poverty, making us more dependent on government, and that's not good. And I know it's a real ugly secret, but that is the goal, to make more people dependent on government so that they have to continue voting into power the same people that keep promising to keep us comfortable in our poverty, and that's not good. What we need is government to get out of the way. We need leaders who are going to enable us to be a little bit more dependent on ourselves, because if it's easier to take care of ourselves, more of us will do it. All right, and we're always able to take care of ourselves better than some bureaucrat in Washington. So again, thank you for your time, and I am now finished. Have a good day.
Thanks for watching. I appreciate your curiosity to hear what I have to say. Whether you agree with it or not, I want you to know I'm always thinking about a variety of issues and sharing them with you. You may not agree with me this time, but next time you will, and vice versa. It is important that you subscribe to my videos because they are the best kept online secret. You may never find them again, and I would like us to remain in touch. That means not only subscribing, but giving a video a thumbs up when you agree and commenting when you don't. I'm also interested in reading and replying to what you think.